Welcome, I'm Terry Christensen and this is Valley Politics. Today we'll talk with Lan Diep, who won a surprise victory over incumbent Councilman Manh Nguyen in the June election in San Jose Council District 4, the Berryessa area. Or at least as we record this show, we think Lan Diep is the victor. On the first count, Lan won by 28 votes out of over 17,000. This triggered an automatic recount that reduced his lead to 12 votes. His opponent called for a further recount at his own expense, and that was still underway when we did this interview. And of course, these two have a record of stiff competition. Nguyen beat out Diep to make the runoff in the 2015 special election for this seat by only 13 votes. So if you ever thought your vote or any one vote doesn't count, let this be a lesson that yes, every vote does count. And even on the outside chance that Lan doesn't win this race, we thought it would be pretty interesting to talk with him about him probably challenging an incumbent and coming out seemingly on top. Later, we'll hear what some residents of Berryessa are looking for in a councilman, and then Milan Balinton will brief us on the work of San Jose's African American Community Services Agency. We'll close our show with the amazing story of Velma Million, also known as the Lady of the Lake, for her quest to create Lake Cunningham Park. All this next on Valley Politics. Welcome everyone, and welcome Lan Diep.
Hello.
So Lan, what a cliffhanger.
Indeed.
It's still a cliffhanger even
Yeah.
as we record this.
Yes.
But even if it's a cliffhanger, it's remarkable that it looks like you beat an incumbent. As I'm sure you know, it's taken for granted by most people that incumbents hardly ever lose.
Sure.
And particularly in this race, most of the organized groups and most observers, including me, thought it was pretty certain Manh Nguyen would win. But it looks like you did. So first of all, what gave you the confidence to run again after you came so close in the 2015 special election?
I don't know if it was confidence so much as naivete.
That works too.
The kind of belief that in a democracy people should have choices, and in this race for his re-election, it seemed like there were no people willing to offer themselves up to run, because of course nobody wants to lose against an incumbent. And I realize that too. There's this kind of rule in San Jose where if you lose 2 elections, you're not a serious candidate anymore. I knew those were kind of the stakes for me as well. But I looked at it and nobody was running. It kind of offended my sense of, people should have a choice. Also, I personally felt that he was not doing a good job, and I felt the community deserved better. I saw his kind of vision, which was, a legitimate one. You win a special election in a low turnout, nobody runs against you, and you get 8 years basically in the bag. And I thought that District 4, or San Jose, as the 10th largest city in the U.S., deserved better representation on its council. So I put my hat in the ring, and it worked out.
Well, tell us how that happened. What did you do in the campaign that brought you to this point, to your success?
I think campaigning is all about relationships. It's about talking points and it's about policy, but particularly at the local level, it is about meeting people face to face, shaking their hand, listening to their concerns, and whether or not you agree with each other on any particular matter, letting them know that you're willing to listen, that you're there for them, you're there for the community, and that you'll always have like a willingness to hear them out. And I think that is important. I think I succeeded in doing that.
You didn't spend very much money. You did some mailing.
I did 3 mailers. I raised about a little over $50,000. I had no consultant.
$50,000 sounds like a lot, but it's not as much as is typically spent in a city council race.
It's not.
Maybe half as much.
It's less than I raised last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you did a lot of door-to-door?
I knocked, not me personally, but me and my volunteers and I knocked on about 16,000 doors.
16,000 doors, 17,000 votes.
Yes.
So you reached a lot of households. Where'd you get your volunteers?
Just anywhere I could find them. People who helped me out from last campaign, new people who saw this kind of race as an interesting test of whatever you want to test and wanted to get involved. There was one volunteer I found by knocking on his door, asking for his support, asking if he had some time, and he said, yeah, sure, and I brought him on. So very grassroots.
Always good to bring more people into the political process. Yeah. So this is District 4, Berryessa. Were there issues specific to the district that you were hearing about?
Yeah, I mean, in Berryessa, the concerns there are shared and mirrored across the city: homelessness, public safety. But in Berryessa and Alviso, there are additional issues of the BART coming in and the traffic.
BART station's supposed to open next year.
Right, and the impact in traffic.
Yeah.
The roads. Alviso has flood protection issues where they're close to the bay. River Oaks, which is kind of that area, North San Jose-ish, has a lot of housing but not enough amenities. Mm-hmm. So they're concerned with overdevelopment but not enough amenities. And those were the local District 4 issues.
And did you get a sense from people that they thought Manh Nguyen wasn't doing enough about these issues?
The best thing I heard about Manh Nguyen was he hasn't done anything to vote him out yet. So nobody, I mean, he's the incumbent and he enjoys that. There is an advantage to being incumbent. But I don't think he had a dedicated following. They were kind of ambivalent about him, or they disliked him.
Well, let's talk about followings. A majority of the population in District 4 is Asian, mm-hmm. of course, of many ethnicities, big Vietnamese population, but many others. Were there divisions? Did those communities divide up between you and Manh Nguyen?
That would be pure speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I can't really say with any certainty. In terms of issues, I think the issues, people voted on the same issues: public safety and taxes, and across the board. I think the Vietnamese community was definitely split. I think
was that a generational split?
Not even generational.
No?
I think Manh Nguyen even has his detractors in the Vietnamese community. Mm-hmm. But the Vietnamese people, even if they don't appreciate Manh, if he was to run against a non-Vietnamese candidate, they have this kind of pride in supporting a fellow Vietnamese candidate. So I was able to dig into that, regain some of my support from last time, maybe cut into his in the Vietnamese base and expand outside of the Vietnamese community, which I think he took for granted, to be quite honest, because he thought he was the incumbent and they would just vote for him a second time.
What about white and Latino voters?
Mm-hmm.
Minority in the district, but still significant amongst voting population.
Sure. I think, and again, I don't know this, but I suspect that Manh and I split the Vietnamese vote. Perhaps I took a smaller chunk of that split, and he kept most of it. But I felt I made it up in the non-Vietnamese community. And that's, again, through grassroots organizing, through door knocking, through building relationships, turning everybody that I met, or trying to at least, turning everyone I met into an ambassador for my campaign. Please, vote for me, but not just that. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. Mm-hmm. This is important. I'm counting on you. And I think that matters.
Lots of us watching San Jose politics have been really fascinated by the rise of the Vietnamese population as a voting force, a significant voting force. Not just electing council members, 2 council members so far, could be a third one in November, but also as a force in mayoral elections, even when there's not a Vietnamese candidate on the ballot. What do you think's galvanized the Vietnamese community to engage so significantly in local politics?
The Vietnamese community, I mean, it's hard to paint with a broad brush. There are generational divides within the Vietnamese community. Even among Vietnamese people of a certain age, there are political divisions. So I think when you talk about the voting Vietnamese community, you're talking predominantly about people of a certain age, the refugee era folks, my parents' age. Mm-hmm. And they are motivated, I think, by international affairs, let's say, more than domestic issues. So they're looking for a friend to the Vietnamese community and somebody who will help them give voice to their fight for freedom and democracy in Vietnam. That's one. And then also another issue that the community is concerned about is getting a community center.
Yes.
Which has been brought up over many administrations, but no one's ever followed through on. So these are the type of things that the community cares about. It's kind of very Vietnamese-centric. It is an aspiration of mine to help explain things to the community, bring them the information, and get them involved in more broad policies to make them engaged citizens in their local communities, education, parks, library, safety, and make them concerned about those issues, which I feel they're not concerned enough about. And I think predominantly not because they don't care, but because the information isn't available to them, or it's not being presented in a way that is engaging to them. They don't see the stakes for them. And I think with my fluency in Vietnamese, my fluency in English, I think I can bridge that gap.
You're a Republican.
I am.
City council races are nonpartisan.
Sure.
Most of what the city deals with is not ideological in a partisan sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what's that going to mean for the way you do your job as a council member?
I don't think it means what most pundits would expect. I mean, I understand this label carries with it many stereotypes, many assumptions about how I am politically. But I think we are still a center-right country. I believe that I tend to veer to the center-right, but still very much in the center. The National Republican Party, as seen in Donald Trump and his statements, do not reflect my beliefs. I am very much somebody who looks at the person, their temperament, and other qualifications be ahead of just straight policy. I don't care what your politics are as long as I think you're willing to engage in a conversation and we can work together. You let me convince you, and then I'll let you convince me, and we'll make some good policy. So in terms of my party affiliation affecting how I act on the council, I don't think government should be horrifically big. My parents left Vietnam, left a form of government that said they want to dictate how people live their lives. And so I have a natural resistance to this big government idea. But I also think at the local level, there's this federalist idea, this federalism idea. Let different states do what they want to do, let different cities what they want to do. Government should work. Government should be properly funded. Government should give people the opportunity to succeed. Not necessarily guarantee success for every person, but give them the opportunity to do so. And that's what I'm all about.
Let me ask you about a couple of specifics locally, and short answers like even yes or no would be good. Did you support the sales tax increase for the city of San Jose that was on the ballot?
I did.
In June, you did. Are you going to support the Valley Transit Authority sales tax for transportation that will be on the November ballot?
I will.
And Mayor Locarno has put his negotiated pension settlement, Measure B, on the ballot for November. Do you expect to support that?
Without having gone through every detail of it, I'm going to take a leap of faith and say yes.
You're leaning, okay.
Yes.
Good. Well, I shouldn't say good, that would be partisan on my part, but it's good for us to have that information.
Sure.
You were talking about national politics a little bit, and watching national and local politics, it seems to me that there's been a transformative change underway where the traditional institutions just don't matter as much as they used to. And you're sort of a case in point.
Sure.
Because you didn't get the endorsement of the major newspaper, you didn't get the Chamber of Commerce, you didn't get the labor unions, you didn't get your party's endorsement even, nor the endorsement of many incumbent council members. And there were candidates in other districts who got to the runoffs in a similar way. What do you think's going on?
I think the democratization of information, the internet, social media, lets people circumvent the parties, circumvents for lack of a better, institutional leads that they would get their information from.
Yeah. It
used to be that a party, you vote with a slate, the Democratic candidates or the Republican candidates, you could expect certain things from them, and you wouldn't have to give it too much thought. You would just ally yourselves with one particular party and just vote that way. I think now issues are much more complex than any one party platform. Especially here in the Silicon Valley, you have people who are startup innovators. They want funding and they want pro-business policies, but they don't want a conservative social policy. They want to live and let live. And so maybe we're not so much a two-party country as we are a four-party country, and there's more of a spectrum. But I think people are so into their own echo chambers now. They can go on the internet and they can read articles that reinforce their beliefs. They can watch MSNBC or Fox News and not really
or Valley politics.
Or Valley politics, but sources of information that just feed them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And so they're not really trusting of the parties or the newspapers or these kind of institutional things that used to present information to them, that they trust it, because they just don't trust it anymore.
I do think the kind of campaign you ran with a lot of person-to-person contact, at least at local politics, is really important. And as you say, social media has become much more important.
Sure.
Lan, that's all the time we've got for today, but thank you very much. Good luck with the recount.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your kind attention.
Now let's hear what some Berryessa residents say they're looking for in a councilman. Then Milan Balinton will tell us all about San Jose's African American Community Services Agency.
I think the new councilman would be great if he put some more parks for the kids, because instead of hanging out with the wrong crowd, he could be like building more, they could be doing activities at the park, so keep them out of trouble. I think that would be a good thing for the councilman to do.
Public safety or neighborhood safety, because there's some break-in I've heard from time to time. Yeah.
The new priorities, especially for this area, I would like to say is keep the area clean. There have been thefts, so keep security as a top priority as well. And also, especially with this Pokemon Go thing going around and these kids are out late night, you have to make sure the beat cops are around and making sure things are good for the civilians of this area especially. Also, I believe another priority, education, of course. Fix the schools up, whether it be renovating or remodeling or adding some things. We had a situation, I think a year ago, where someone drowned themselves at the local high school here. So, like I said, security has got to be one of the top priorities. You want to make sure everyone is feeling safe.
Hello, my name is Milan Balinton, and I'm the Executive Director of the African American Community Service Agency, located in San Jose. Our agency was established in 1978 to preserve the dignity and culture of a diverse African American community while providing services and programs beneficial to the general society in Santa Clara County. Our focus areas are as follows: education, health and wellness, economic development, social services, and networking. Our signature annual programs are the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon, Juneteenth in the Park Festival, and Summer Science Day Camp. Recently, Intel Corporation provided a grant to renovate our computer lab, now called AACSA Technology Hub. This fall, we will be offering STEM-focused programs. First program, Lego Robotics class, learning what robots are made of, design, build, and program robots. No prior programming knowledge needed. Second, cyber safety classes for kids and senior surfers. Third, Google CS program, which is a free program that increases students' access and exposure to computer science. AACSA is excited about our work and impact here in Santa Clara County for over 35 years. We encourage you to find out about AACSA by volunteering, donating, and visiting our site at 304 North 6th Street, San Jose, California. Our website at www.sjaacsa.org. Thank you for listening.
Now you're in for a treat. Our guest on Where Are They Now is Velma Million, the woman who earned the title the Lady of the Lake for her efforts to create San Jose's Lake Cunningham Regional Park. Let's take a look. Velma Million, Lady of the Lake, thank you for welcoming us into your home today.
We're so happy to have you, so excited.
Tell us, to get us started, what was the valley here like when you arrived?
Well, it was small. Neighbor knew neighbor. We were just able to talk about anything. And I and my husband used to walk to First Street from 24th Street, even at night. The weather was beautiful.
And it was the Valley of Heart's Delight then.
Oh my God, yes. The aromas of the trees, apricots, lots of. We had Crabberry Winery, we sat there and we had our wine. We were one colony, probably a block or two from one another, and a young group. And when we had, when the city and the flood control decided to tax us, to give an opportunity for the builders to come up. And we were to help the city and the flood control to put in Norwood Creek. And we all got together and says, no, this is not right. This is not right. We decided to fight, and fight we did. And went to the city and the county and said, we're not going to pay this tax. Let the builders pay them.
This is a time when San Jose was growing really rapidly. Population was about 95,000 in 1950, 200,000 in 1960, 400,000 in 1970. So this is the period you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we finished and we won.
You fought the tax was defeated.
Yes. And then our little small committee at that time looked down towards the city, and you could see hordes of rooftops coming our way. And we went, oh my God, they're coming this way. And we said, oh. Now below us, I lived on and by with Norwood Creek. We always had a lake in the winter. There was always a lake there. It used to flood the airport. I remember the lake that I'm talking about was called Silver Lake, and I guess that's where the Silver Creek came in at. And we looked at one another and I said, look what's coming and look what we have. And we saw they're gonna take our Blossom Valley and concrete the roads. Tully Road wasn't in. And houses galore. Where is the space for our population yet to come? Our little kids, our adults. They weren't planning for open space. And we, about 6, got mad. I didn't know much about politics, hardly any at all, and I was told, why don't we go to the city council or talk to the mayor about our problem? At that time was Norm Mineta.
The mayor was Norm Mineta, yeah.
And we talked to him. And he looked at us, and we're going this and that and this, explaining that we have the most beautiful valley. And of course I said where I lived compared to where I lived and what we have. What we have. Don't you see what we have? And Norm says, well, I agree. And he was the one who supported us right straight through. And another name that supported us, many supported the committee, many. But we had Frank Fiscalini. Frank Fiscalini had given me the opportunity to talk to the students in the high schools, grade schools. And I didn't know the Board of Supervisors that well as I did the city. So whenever I needed bodies, students, and I would call Frank. Next week I need help. Well, went to him and I says, Frank, I need help at the Board of Supervisors. I don't know them as well. And he said, okay. Now this all related to their studies too.
Right, and this was the East Side Union High School District,
Yeah.
so the park is in the East Side
Yes.
Union High School District.
So I just didn't know. He said he would try. He would try. And so I'm sitting there thinking, we can't lose them, we can't lose them. So I looked out the window and I went down to see because there was really not that much parking around the county board. So I was down below and I saw these buses coming, school buses. And I smiled, I says, oh no. And 2 school buses full of happy students. So happy to be out of class, I guess. And coming out of the bus, and many of them knew me because I spoke to them many times. And they said, where do we go? And I said, follow me. Packed the Board of Supervisors. And they were looking, they said, we don't collaborate with the city on parks.
The supervisor said that.
Yes. Sig Sanchez said that, who is not too well today. And so we sat there, we did our speech and so forth, and the students got up because they knew of Cunningham and spoke. And we sat there and I said, need your help. Pleaded with them to really look at the city of San Jose, not the county, but look at our city and what it needs are. So Sig says, well, we still don't collaborate. Well, anyway, we did get through, we did get their votes. And what Sig said at the end was, you got my vote, Velma Million, but don't come back for money. And so I have a story about that, but, and I said, oh, no.
I think the Mercury News was very supportive, right?
Oh, man. And San Jose Times.
Uh-huh.
Whenever we were in trouble, which means we didn't have enough of information going out to the public, we would go to Joe Ritter.
The publisher of the Mercury News.
Yes.
Very powerful man.
Oh. And we would go knocking on, Joe, we need your help. Lake Cunningham Park is in trouble. And he'd go. And he says, okay. So, it's not one time, but maybe 3 or 4. And he said, I might as well give you a reporter and save me my time for my news. And he did. The group and I always had an East Side reporter.
So to achieve Lake Cunningham Regional Park, which is a great achievement and a great legacy, you had to work with the city. Later it was Mayor Janet Gray Hayes after Norman Etta. You had to work with the county. You had to work with the state officials in Sacramento.
Flood control.
Oh, the water district, flood control district, the state, and also there were the federal government, because some federal funds came in. This is a 200-acre park. That's just an amazing and wonderful achievement.
It's reality now.
It's reality now. It's
And
beautiful.
it was a dream, but if one of those agencies said no to us, we were in trouble.
What I want to know is what kept you engaged and active on this for over 15 years. You weren't getting paid for it, right?
No, it's all my money. I was in love.
You were in love.
I was in love. I was in love with our city. I was, I can't I was in love that we were hopefully to save part of our Blossom Valley.
Next month, Velma will tell us the story of how and why a councilman and a car ended up on top of the unfinished 280-101 highway interchange. Don't miss it. Meanwhile, you can catch up on previous shows on our website at creatvsj.org or on YouTube by searching for CreaTV San Jose. You can also email comments to us at valleypolitics@creatvsj.org and follow us on Facebook, where you can post comments and suggest topics or future guests. And now that's all, folks. Thanks for watching Valley Politics.